evening. I will be speaking in English, although I could also make it in German, but I don't want to make so many mistakes. Um, I, I understand you all understand English, so first allow me to express my gratitude to the Director General of the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, Mr. Mark Dornfried, for inviting my country to participate in this year's International Economics Congress. The subject, Global Trends in Creative Economics, Education, Entrepreneurship, and Tourism as drivers of sustainable economic growth, covers so many strategic parts that I would probably need a week to talk about all of them. But don't worry that I'm not going to take that long. More or less, during the 5 years of this century, the United Nations recognized that tourism is one of the great world socioeconomic forces and turned the responsibility of dealing with this issue to the World Tourism Organization, the UNWTO, one of its youngest specialized organizations committed to promoting tourism as an instrument in achieving the UN Millennium Development Goals geared towards reducing poverty and fostering sustainable development. Precisely in this important goal convened by the heads of state in the United Nations, Uruguay has had an incredible role and is probably one of the few countries that will achieve ahead of time most of the goals established. You all know that economic activity was the purpose of this growth and this compromise established by the heads of state, and the social and cultural impact of tourism is one of those that produces important consequences, and its results, development require orientation. In general, activities related to tourism are intensive in workforce, and that is why many expectatives are linked with the effect of the development of tourism to labor and income of the different areas related. Tourism mobilizes sectors which generate capacity to build new workplaces and contribute to add value to the economy. And Uruguay does not remain outside this reality. Allow me to address precisely what we have done during the past years in what is related to tourism. Even though the activity is recent, Uruguay is no newcomer in this issue. We have been looking at tourism since the beginning of last century. One of the most luxurious hotels in the region, the Carrasco, now totally refurbished by a prestigious French hotel worldwide company, was built in Montevideo. Also very important installations for tourism have been built in Piriápolis and Punta del Este. We took early consciousness that we could be a country of expertise in receiving foreigners as visitors. At the beginning, the attraction was the beaches, but over the years, other offers such as rural, cultural, health, gastronomic, bird watching, and cruise ships, natural escapes, meeting tourism, also now complete a variety of offers in a perfect destination. Tourism is a resilient activity. The impulse tourism has gained in the past 50 years is one of the main economic phenomena most noticeable in current times. According to the UNWTO, the income of international travelers has been growing in an annual average of 11% since 1950. Tourism has grown from 25 million international arrivals to 808 million in 2005 and is still going up for 2030. This means 6.5 annual growth, while generated income almost double at the same time, taking in consideration the path it has been established since 2005. That level of growth is superior to the growth of global economy as a whole, and especially considering the slowdown generated starting 2008, the crisis in the Eurozone. Nowadays, tourism competes with food products, automobile industry, and some other important sections of international commerce. tourism is today 16% of the export in services and grows to 40% of our gross national product. If we add air transportation, its shares in foreign direct investment has grown in the past years. From 2008 until 2013, Uruguay received in 215 tourism projects and allowed $838 million in investments, which generated 3,500 workplaces. Today, there are more than 500 hotels in Uruguay and 200 have been built recently. In the past 5 years, 5,000 beds have been installed, of which 3,000 have been finished and 2,000 are pending. In Uruguay, there are almost 50,000 beds and 250,000 beds are rentals. Real estate developers have been crucial for the development of tourism in my country. The country has 3 international airports, 1 harbor that does business with the free port system, 2 sea terminals, and the entire infrastructure to serve tourism is consistently being updated. New airlines have the destination Uruguay and services. Many German airlines still need to decide to include Uruguay as their destination. That's why I'm here. But they have been added, and schools to teach improving professional dealing with tourists are now proliferating all over the country. Looking at tourism further ahead than the economy. Tourist activity implies a monumental mobilization of economic resources, an additional benefit to the environment, culture, and the elimination of poverty. It generally means a less contaminating activity and can adjust to different cultural ways of being, which also represent attractive factors for tourists. Especially since 2005, Uruguay has devoted itself seriously and fully committed to build an economy that is strong and stable. We have been growing at rates that we could not achieve for more than 50 years. Precisely, in April last year, when our foreign minister, Dr. Luis Almagro, visited Berlin for talks with his then German counterpart, Dr. Guido Westerwelle, he defined that Uruguay is a key country in a region that is experimenting high levels of growth. He said this convinced that we are an exceptional country that favors foreign investments, for all of which Germany stands for us as an important and strategic partner in Europe. All these good aspects are based on our political, social, and economic stability that make our business environment one of the best and reliable in the region. Our index of quality of life and human development, our commitment with food security puts us in a very high position in world standards and among the first places, not only in Latin America as well as in other regions. Our solid macroeconomic behavior with a 5.9% average of growth between the years 2005 until 2012, an orderly management of our external debt, our investment grade, the increase of our GDP per capita to $15,000 in 2012, and our favorable indexes of distribution of wealth and social policies contribute to the good position of my country. The extraordinary financial openness, the legal framework for free handling of merchandise, the free ports and harbors and airports surely contribute to promote an excellent environment for commerce and investments with the rest of the world. The strong diversity of our exports began over a decade, but it has been the present administration that empowers its reach worldwide, and it covers more than 165 countries. Do not forget that Uruguay is also a service exporting nation, and this stands for over 25% of our total exports. It is precisely the strategic position that Uruguay enjoys as a corner country with great seaside view that makes us a key place with an important vertical hinterland that adds up to a very unique harbor infrastructure considered among the finest in the world. Our unique location, although, is permanently having to adjust to times in which certain covert action as sanctions and put brakes in the free movement of people. Each country has to adjust to its own circumstances, and we all know that tourism can also help countries to come out of their recessions. Tourism, of course, has an important role in the reduction of poverty. It is a complex relationship of factors such as health, education, child mortality, environmental damage, among many others. Up to now, and maybe this is what explains the failure, tourism has been playing a marginal role in the international strategy for eradication of poverty. Nevertheless, experience shows that tourism benefits the countries of the South and also reverts gains to consumers and established companies in the Northern Hemisphere. During the past decade, the annual growth rate in the arrival of tourists in developing countries has been superior to the world average, with $326 million in income. Tourism stands as a support in the flourishment of the economy and the expansion of small and medium enterprises in poor rural areas, and frequently represents the only alternative to the decline in the agricultural subsistence. The search of new relationships to achieve common labor goals in tourism is a key subject where providers are numerous and highly diversified. Association of different services is fundamental to gain success in a complex world where competitiveness acquires an increasing and sometimes with cruel procedures among different touristic destinations. The UNWTO has established as a goal that states should make tourism a priority strategy for the economy and to guarantee employment, and that this position should also be supported by financial institutions and development banks worldwide. This should be done through a satellite account for tourism in the national economy. Public and private sectors should work jointly, and as a natural consequence, politics should follow. More than 70 countries have adopted the satellite account. Before I go into the importance in concrete subjects of tourism for Uruguay, and according to the title, allow me to add an impression over our region, South America, expressed yesterday in Berlin by our former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Uruguay and President of the Inter-American Development Bank, who is presently Executive Secretary General of the Ibero-American Association of States, the economist Enrique Iglesias. He said that South America is undergoing a change, and this change is not precisely a new stage, but we are facing a new era. A time of predictability comes to an end in order to open a new reality in which uncertainty is what we have to deal with. Predictability cannot be extended to more than 2 years. And today we live on a permanent alert, and this is very important to note because it has direct influence in the decision process to adopt measures and define policies to apply. A new concept of development can be based on knowledge, innovation, and using a technology that advances rapidly. Altogether are affecting each and every human activity. The emerging middle class in Latin America is a new phenomenon, and it does not have more than 15 years. It is a group that organizes itself through social networks, knows its rights, is hyper-informed, and still needs to be understood by politicians, some of which still do not know how to relate with this new challenge. We have seen also that the new way things are taking in Latin America have a great impact in this, and also is translated into the information people have according to countries. Going to the issue of the importance of tourism in Uruguay, I can tell you that since 1990, tourism is one of the activities that generate different currencies. In this sense, tourism has gained 493 million in 2005, growing in 2011 to 2,160 million and to more or less $1,850 million in the past year. Without counting the cruise ships and the Brazilian border, it is also important in comparisons to our export capacity and represents, as already said, 16% of our export capacity. We say in Uruguay, tourism is the biggest industry considered in an individual manner, as activity without chimneys, employing a great amount of our citizens, as well as guests from other countries that have brought their own know-how in many fields. In 2010, the UNWTO, for the first time, selected a country, Uruguay, as a successful case in tourism. With almost 3 million tourists in 2013, Uruguay stands as one of the most visited countries in South America, being an interesting fact when compared to a population of 3.4 million. And globally, we stand among the 50 countries that receive the highest amount of visitors. Most tourists receive benefits as VAT reimbursements, special discounts on fuel for cars, and also special conditions in malls and supermarket chains. Visitors are mainly of a high, medium economic level. Luxurious tourism is in fact one of the most visible generations of services in Uruguay. Five-star hotels have been vastly extended throughout the country and respond to the demand of luxurious accommodations with all amenities situated in Montevideo, Punta del Este, Colonia del Sacramento, and so on. The government of President José Mujica has indicated that it supports tourism as a generator of wealth and employment and is working consistently to promote the country. And that is why we are also participating here in the International Tourism Boards in Berlin. That is one of the leading fairs in the world in which we are participating continuously since 1988. Even before the German reunification and the fall of the Berlin Wall. That was one of what I even saw. My first post was East Germany, and that was transformed into the reunited Germany. So I more or less saw the story from 1989 to 1994, and witnessed that sparkling moment for the German history. Having to do with the Germans, we are obviously focused on making them travel to Uruguay so they can enjoy a safe and good destination. Uruguay has been receiving almost the same amount of tourists as inhabitants, I already said that, and out of these, around 20,000 visitors a year come from Germany. Surely this number can progress into a more consistent flow, but we need to expand far more while we can be a good option for holiday makers. The perfect time to visit my country is from December until April, and if you like warm weather, the rest of the year is also enjoyable given the fact that you like to communicate with nature, a very preserved ecosystem, pristine beaches, and many of the things you previously saw, I suppose, in the film we passed. The capacitation of human skills is the fact that we are trying to address most permanently and with a couple of failures, I would say, and would have to be with the results of education or capacitation, because many of the best I would say institutions that need to prepare people that have to do with tourism are still on their way to expand in Uruguay. As you know, ecotourism and our other brands that we are starting to take out with the respect of nature and encouraging travelers from different parts to come and visit us. We have been trying to focus from Germany in the fact that this year, I mean, it's going to be the World Soccer Championship, and we are trying to attract people that go to Brazil for that circumstance in order to make a stopover in Uruguay. And last but not least, we're working hard to give quality at a reasonable price so that distance can only be an accessory part that can be incorporated in the priceless time of tourism that want to go to Uruguay. So, well, I thank you for your attention, and if you want to go ready for questions, I am at your disposal.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing some of the tourism opportunities in Uruguay. I'm sure that everyone is now thinking about a great vacation after the whole conference in Berlin. So, who wants to go first for questions, comments about Uruguay, about tourism? Okay, here first.
Well, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
The first one is, what kind of economic and touristic arrangements has Uruguay with Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina? And the second is, what is the current position of Uruguay or the President Mujica about the situation that is going on in Venezuela?
Well, first I'll answer the one that has to do with our neighbors, with tourism. And well, I can tell you that Argentina and Brazil are our most important providers of tourism. And that's why we have to take a lot of care of them. And sometimes many measures that have to do with them are the ones that make a good season for our tourism or not. When we have sometimes difficulties in the transportation of our coming of Argentinians to Uruguay, then the season gets complicated. But we have to travel, we have to work together in the travel industry among the Mercosur countries, because it is necessary that we go in that sense. For example, we already have an experience in Japan, where we have a common office that works to attract Japanese tourism to Mercosur countries. And that is an interesting example, and that's how we sometimes think that we need to address that when we bring tourism from overseas, we need to work together. And sometimes we also need to work together in order to take away certain difficulties that exist among the free travel of tourism among our countries. But we have been seeing that in spite of all the trouble, all the problems in this season, we have had as much tourists as we had last year. Maybe we did not have the same income, yes, but new means of transportation. You know, if you heard about this ship that is called Francisco, that is a very modern ship that is fueled by gas. It protects the environment. That goes from Buenos Aires to Montevideo in 2 hours, and it's a great instrument now to put more people in travel. And all that plus the connectivity, and what I was referring of the changes that are being done in the region through people that, there are many people in Brazil, for example, for the first time in their lives, they go into an airplane. They never traveled in planes, and that's happening. The middle class is going, having a different capacity and power to even travel more and among us. We have been mainly, most of our countries, looking very much towards Europe, towards the United States, maybe, and we have not been looking inwards. And we still have a lot of capacity and potentially to address many issues. Now, your other question about Venezuela, that is really an issue which is not complicated for me to answer, but as you know, next week there's going to be a meeting of all the presidents of UNASUR in Santiago de Chile when the new president Bachelet takes office. And the foreign ministers will have a meeting there to see how to address the situation in Venezuela. And We have said, as Uruguay, that we want them to come into a peaceful solution. We are a country that does not like to get involved in other people's internal affairs. But we understand that it's something that needs to be addressed. And as you know, even President Mujica, 2 days ago, when it was 1 year that former President Chavez died, he also said that we are very grateful to the way Chavez focused integration in Latin America and how we are standing as a gratitude for what he did. But we all know that the situation Venezuela is now undergoing is complicated, and we the region, and especially Uruguay, is committed to that, to having a peaceful solution and to try to contribute to help the Venezuelans come to a solution to the problem, which we take as a problem that we all need to address. You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yes, Najmuddin Dulce from Tunisia. We welcome you here. And we see that the tourism is tourism depend of the fragility of the states when you have trouble. As we've had in Tunisia, we have about 60% less tourists coming to Tunisia, and that's a problem for unemployment. It's grow up, unemployment are growing up, especially for youth. How can we find the way to let the tourists come back to the countries where we've had troubles? Especially, for example, when you see Venezuela, when you see Ukraine, that's a big problem for tourism, and there is no more income. So how can we deal with this position?
I don't have the round ball to answer that question, because I think it is a very deep need to also see how all these conflicts end up really being reflected into what I said. I mean, tourism is also a great form to have revenues and incomes for a country, and when you have a situation that maybe destroys all that, you put a lot of people out in the street without a job, and the problem of the conflicts generate is part of that issue. I mean, I would say that the first thing we should try to address is how to make a governability that will allow us to impede or not let those situations happen. Because at the end, let's say, the worker or the normal person that is not influenced by others is the one that suffers the consequences of this kind of issues. And sometimes you say, well, we, for example, one thing that we have achieved in the region, that despite of all the complications and sometimes that we have, we are the first nuclear-free zone. You cannot have the slightest possibility that in South America there will be a problem with nuclear force. And I think that is something interesting that we need to protect as a gain. And we need that to be translated into other regions too, because South America is the first free nuclear zone in the world. And I think that's a good example that we need to address, that we need to take that, every time you have arms, the arms don't kill. It's the people that use the arms that kill. So the moment we have arms going around and we have conflicts, we will have situations that will probably engage and reflect into humans. So it's very difficult because it has to do also with that where the world is standing right now, trying to find a world governance, a better world governance, in which we can all rely upon. The United Nations is an effective system, but we need to empower it to make it something really powerful in order to avoid these kind of conflicts that end up ruining the lives of people and taking away the lives of people. So.
Hello, sir. Thanks again for your presentation. My name is Brice Arnaudot. I'm from France and working here as an intern. I would like to say that I consider, it seems to me that Uruguay is like a leader in South America concerning human rights, and as now maybe as a new step in that's a new step in the fight against drug cartels, with the two law you recently have concerning gay marriage and legislation about marijuana. So do you think, or do you feel that Uruguay can have like this position of leader in South America concerning human issues?
Well, we have tried, yes. I mean, thank you, because that is a question that takes me to the bottom line, or to the center of where my government is standing. I mean, the government of President Mujica, initiated in 2010, has established as its main goal to put in the center of every policy human rights. And wherever there is discrimination, wherever there is rights that are not protected for people, he wanted to put all that in the basket and say, well, that's why, yes, we had the same-sex marriage, the abortion issues, and a couple of other things that it's not if you stand by the side of that is a religious thing or not, but it was something that was affecting a group of people. You can call women, you can call people sexual orientation, and you can call even what we have did in the country with Afro-descendants. We have had more than 4,000 that had never been paid attention to. So it's a government that, of course, has tried to use not the issue of taking care of minorities because they need to be taken care of, because it's their own right. And that's something that Uruguay has put it in the United Nations too, in the Council for Human Rights. And it's something that, of course, it needs to be addressed according to different cultures too, but to what we think is right. We need to establish ourselves that if we do not protect human rights, we cannot protect any other rights. I mean, and that special way of seeing things have put us in a, maybe this issue of marijuana is something that many say, you know, it's going to be an experiment. Maybe the only country that can do that experiment is Uruguay, because we have 3.5 million inhabitants, and because it's going to be a great, we have an institution that is going to control everything. Some people think, you know, I'm going to go as a tourist in Uruguay. That's not going to be possible. But it's going to be an experiment among Uruguayans, let's say. And of course, my president said that the war against narcotraffics and the situation that we have with the criminal organizations and everything to fight drugs is absolutely an hypocrisy, and that has not been working. And so we need to change, and we need to address the problem with new tools. And we're trying to do that. See if maybe we are mistaken, but we can have the possibility to say, you know what, let's recognize that we are not doing things right, that we need to move the page and see if we can address the problem in a different way. The problem of criminal organizations and narcotraffics in South America is horrendous. It's a real issue, and it's worldwide. It's not only in South America, but if one doesn't try to look towards another side of the coin to address the problem, The problem will persist permanently, and we want to do something about it.